Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Networks on Sunday, November 22nd, 2015. This is episode 1240. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Corning Optical Cables. Corning's incredibly durable Thunderbolt and USB 3. Optical cables are longer, thinner, lighter, and stronger. Enjoy up to $60 off select Thunderbolt and USB cables in the U.S. or Canada at corning.com/twit. And by Gazelle, the online marketplace for buying and selling used gadgets. Shop from a variety of certified pre-owned electronics or trade one in for cash. Give new life to a used device at gazelle.com today. And by Epson's new EcoTank printers. With Epson's line of SuperTank all-in-one printers, you can print thousands of documents without running out of ink. EcoTank is loaded and ready to print when you are. Visit epson.com/ecotank to find out more. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers and the internet and home theater and digital photography and smartphones and smartwatches and, well, you know, all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo, that's the phone number. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. You will be speaking to Kim Schaffer this day, and Kim is wonderful. She'll get you ready for your appearance on the big screen. What do you call it? You know, you have the big screen for movies and TV. What is it for radio? The big mic? That doesn't sound right. Well, we'll figure something out. 8888 Ask Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I guess maybe we could talk a little bit about encryption because, of course, as often happens after a horrific terrorist event like last week's attacks in Paris, and then the following couple of days in Mali, and I think we're probably going to see more of these, right? Always the hue and cry. Understandably, what can we do about this? And, there are many answers, but one of the answers that always surprises me, well, I guess I shouldn't be surprised anymore, is, well, we need to crack down on encryption. We need to keep people from having private conversations. Now, this doesn't have anything to do with the fact that the terrorists in the Paris attack were not having encrypted conversations. And in fact, we're talking in the clear. Didn't help that they were in the clear. So you might wonder, well, if we could crack encryption, would that make it easier? Maybe not. But the real issue is you can't. You can't effectively prevent encryption any more than you can effectively prevent people from meeting in private and just making plans together in private. You'd have to eliminate all privacy. And that's not even doable, because encryption is based on fundamental mathematics that it's widely known. And so you can say to Apple and Google and Microsoft, no more encryption. And the only people, as usual, who get hurt by that are the normal user who doesn't know any better, who's now being spied upon by national and international law enforcement, even though they're not criminals. It makes us all more vulnerable because if you put a backdoor in encryption, you have a special magic key that, in theory, only law enforcement can have, that almost inevitably makes it weaker and allows bad guys to use it. The back door. You put a door in something, it's hard to control. Furthermore, the bad guys just go to other forms of encryption because you could even write it yourself. It's very well known, very well understood, and it would be impossible for any country or all the countries to ban encryption. They can ban select encryption. They could say, well, nobody can have encryption on an iPhone. But I don't know what that accomplishes. If you really want to have a private conversation, you can have a private conversation. So I want to mention that because, of course, you're going to see a lot of blame thrown, and it's already happened. The commissioner of police in New York City, Bill Bratton, says, well, it's Apple's fault. If Apple didn't encrypt their iPhones, we would know exactly what's going on. Well, apparently not, since the conversations and plans for the Parisian attackers were not encrypted. Still didn't stop the attack. So let's just step back a little bit from that and make sure that we get to have our privacy. And I understand. I want to stop terrorism too. Believe me, if I thought that would do it, I'd be all for it. But it won't, and it has side effects that are maybe not so great. This week, Windows turns 30 years old. Doesn't it feel older than that? Windows 10, the current version, but Windows 1.0, little remembered, no one mourns its loss, was launched to the world November 20th, 1985. It was the successor to MS-DOS. I remember talking with Steve Jobs. He said, in 1984, we released the Macintosh. We had a 10-year lead on Microsoft. 10 years later, we had lost that lead. Let's see, that would be 1994, Windows 3.1.1, and of course, Windows 95 imminently coming out. And I think by the time Windows 95 came out, Windows was absolutely mature, usable. I liked Windows 3.1. Okay, let's be specific. 3.11. That's the one I liked. Windows 1.0 was just DOS with some pictures. But big milestone. And if you look back at the history of computing, personal computing, over the last 30 years, you give a lot of credit to Microsoft and Bill Gates for creating a stable, relatively anyway, stable platform that software designers could create programs for, and they knew there's a market for this. We can write to it, and there'll be millions of people able to use it. Without Windows, you don't have that. Windows 1 also had a mouse. Now remember, a year earlier, Apple had introduced a mouse on its Macintosh, but it was kind of the first PC side use of the mouse. It also had Windows. Of course, that's the name, Windows. There was early on a big debate over whether those windows should overlap or tile. And like all debates over minuscule, minor matters, it became heated, violent, almost a religious war. Tiled windows are it. That's where the windows abut, but don't overlap. Overlapped windows are it. And of course, overlapping windows were harder to do with the technology of those days, but it won. Overlapping windows won. Ironically, we're back to tiled windows with Microsoft Surface and Snap and the iPad Pro and iOS 9. Back to tiled windows. So who won in the long run? I don't know. I'm looking at pictures of Bill Gates, 1985, holding Windows 1.0. He's so young. He looks like a 12-year-old. The giant glasses and the slicked down hair don't help, but he looks such like a kid. I think he was in his late 20s. Windows 1.0 took 2 floppy disks to install. Came with 2 floppy. That's nice. It needed 256 kilobytes of RAM. That was a lot in the days when people were saying 64K. You'd never need more than that. Not megabytes, not gigabytes, kilobytes. If you wanted to run multiple programs, you'd need 512 kilobytes of memory. I remember those days, don't you? I thought 8 megabytes of memory was like, wow. No one would ever need more than 8 megabytes. Now we have 8 gigabytes, and a lot of people say, oh, that's not enough. Windows 1.0, 30 years old today. I don't know how many of you used it. I didn't. It seemed silly, especially if you had a Macintosh, which I did. It seemed like, this is silly. What could this be all about? If you're interested in the smartwatch category, LG was about to release the LG Watch Urbane 2. I have the Urbane 1, which I like quite a bit. It's an Android Wear watch, but this one was a big deal. It was going to be sold by AT&T, and it had a phone in it, so you would be able to walk away from your phone. This is a smartwatch that wouldn't need a phone. You could receive and take phone calls, make phone calls on it. LG has canceled it a week before it was supposed to be in the stores, and not only canceled it, but canceled it indefinitely because of a complex, quote, hardware issue. Maybe it didn't work. I don't know. You'd think you'd know that sooner. 1 week. Wow. 8888 Ask Leo. Let's get some calls in here. Let's talk about what you're interested in, not just what I'm interested in. 888-827-5536. And everything we say, everything we talk about, we'll put that on the show notes at the website, techguylabs.com. You think a legal issue? Oh, that's an interesting. They said a hardware issue. What do you think the legal? Well, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? Maybe a lawsuit, huh?
That or somebody discovered a patent that all was
Right. Could be, huh? And you wouldn't want to admit that.
Yes. So you don't always say what you.
Yeah. You don't want yeah. They didn't pull the latest Windows 10. They only took it out of the ISO. So if you download the ISO, it'll be you won't have the fall update, but you can then install it later. No one knows why they did that. But that's not the same thing as not offering it. They still, I have it on here. They just changed the ISO. I'm not going to read a lot into that until we know more. Yeah, if you download an ISO, you'll get the Threshold 1 release, but you can update it then to Threshold 2 online. So I'm not sure what that's all about. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. And there she is, Kim Schaffer, the phone ranger. Hello, Kim.
Good morning.
You've been lining up some calls for me?
Yes, I have.
Who should I start with here? What do you think?
Greg has a question for either the aging population or people like us who have blown their ears out wearing headphones all their career.
Well, I'm in both situations. Greg,
Exactly.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Greg.
Hey, Leo, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm 66, and I, too, am a big head.
We were talking off the air about how big our heads are.
This is the way it is. 1949. So the thing is, I'm going to go see an audiologist. I know I need to do that. And then I'm going to be looking at hearing aids, I'm sure. My ears are Berkeley rock concerts.
Yep,
and,
me too.
Shooting guns outdoors.
Yep,
So anyway, you have them. You have a pair. You've talked about them. And
I do.
Can you summarize sort of the range of options and more? Money's not a big problem, so I'm looking at what's fun technically.
Yeah, well, that was my justification. That and the fact that my wife said I better darn well go in there because I'm not hearing what she's saying.
Of course, then you said what?
Huh?
And,
yeah, she told me a few times before I actually heard. So the original days of hearing aids. Well, you remember the old hearing trumpet? You'd stick something in your ear and people would talk into it. The whole idea was you'd put a microphone somewhere. I remember my grandpa had a microphone in his pocket, and then he put basically amplifiers in his ears. They were very simple products, and of course you'd get feedback. You'd hear the screeching and whining if you turned it up too loud. We've come a long way, baby. So hearing aids these days have microprocessors in them, DSPs, and they're doing a lot more with the sound. The microphone is on the hearing aid itself, which is kind of by your ear. Because you have two of them, they're doing all sorts of interesting imaging things. For instance, my hearing aids, when the speaker moves or I turn my head, they actually change the amplification. So it's really interesting stuff. It does this all on the fly. The ones I use, which are from Starkey, they're called the Halos, have a smartphone app, Android and iOS. Works a little bit better on iOS. They pair to the app, and then you can control the hearing aids from the app, including things like having location-specific settings. So if every time you go to a certain restaurant, it's hard to hear because of the noise level in the restaurant, you can tune the hearing aid to hear better. Say, remember this, and it will remember it. It'll be a preset for that location. You won't even have to push a button. It'll do it when you get to that location. The phone says, oh, we're here again, and it sets the hearing aids differently. So that's kind of cool. The thing that I learned, I'll give you some of the things I learned. First of all, I thought, I'm going to have perfect hearing once again. No. To do that, you would really probably need nice big headphones on your head and an equalizer that would be tuned to. Hearing aids are not designed to do that. They're not designed to give you full fidelity. They're designed to make it easier to hear people's voices. That's really what they're about. They're about understanding the speech of people who are talking to you. And so they work on those kind of mid-range frequencies. They don't attempt to boost the low or the high. You will notice, because that's the first thing that goes as you get older. So the first thing I noticed, I put them on, is like, wow, what's all this rustling? Oh, those are my clothes. And then I'd rub my feet on the carpet. I'd say, what's that? Because I hadn't heard those high sounds in years, right? Lost the high frequency response. I would absolutely do it. Go to an audiologist, of course. This is not something you can do by yourself. I think we're going to see, and I was hoping that we'd be at this stage. We're not yet. Both Starkey, Resound is another company that has hearing aids that have apps. And there's some new companies like Bragi, B-R-A-G-I, that are looking at hearing aids as wearables. And this is what I think the future holds, which I think will be very interesting, because it's already in your ear. There's lots of things it can measure in your ear, including your heart rate, blood pressure, volume of oxygen, VO2 max. It could measure your temperature, of course. There's lots of things a hearing aid could do as part of this new quantified self thing. They can be wearables. So, and, the best part of a hearing aid, I tie it to my phone, and then I can listen to my audiobook, and no one knows I'm listening. Or a baseball game.
Right? That's Bluetooth?
It's used, and again, this is with the Starkey Halos. So not all hearing aids will do this, but because they're paired to the phone via Bluetooth LE, low power Bluetooth, map directions. It's great for driving, because the map directions, instead of going through your speakers in your car, they come into your ear. So you can turn that off.
For my wife, not yell at me.
Yeah.
I know where I'm going, and I can hear her too.
You can't easily do the one thing Grandpa liked to do, which he'd reach into his pocket and turn that hearing aid down or off. You can do it, but you have to take out it's a little more obvious. You take out you have to take out your phone, and then but you can turn them off. You absolutely can do that as well. I think there's some very...
Is K-E-Y. K-E-Y?
Yeah, K-E-Y. And, there's Starkey is a U.S. company. I think Resound is as well. There's a German company, Siemens, that's doing some interesting stuff. You're going to see a lot going on. As the baby boomers, start to really take over, there's a huge market. The thing that people do, they resist it because they feel like, well, it's a sign I'm getting old. But... it isn't necessarily just a sign you're not hearing as well. There are lots of reasons, especially in our generation, why we might not hear as well. I spent many happy evenings in front of giant speakers at rock concerts too. And so, but you go to an audiologist. What they do is they will figure out what frequencies you need amplified. They literally make a curve for each ear. They figure out what your bone conductance is. They do a lot more than just, the old hearing test, raise your left hand if you hear the sound. They do a lot more. And then the DSP in the hearing aid is tuned to that, but there's a lot more they can do. There's echo cancellation. They can literally pitch people's voices to a little bit of a lower pitch. So children and some high-voiced people will have a little bit lower voices, so they're easier for you to hear. There's all sorts of interesting things they do. Because
what about vendors, Leo? I mean, third-party vendors.
I just went to an audiologist in town, and he sold it. You don't get them direct from the because you really do need to partner with an audiologist. Because one of the things you'll notice, and it's very important, is at first it's disconcerting. And you have to kind of get used to them, and there's a whole process of that. And you go in and, you say, okay, well, I hear this and this and this. For one thing, your voice, you're going to hear your voice twice. Now, I'm very sensitive because I'm on the air. I use headphones. I've been doing it for 40 years, so I'm very sensitive to that. But I detect a slight kind of phasing because my voice is coming into my ear normally. It's echoing through my head normally, and then it's slightly, ever so slightly, maybe a millisecond or two delayed by the earphones. So I hear it. There's a little bit of chorusing. You get used to it. It goes away. Your brain is very good at tuning stuff like that out.
Okay, before I hang up, I appreciate all the help. Before I hang up, one question. We're coming out to see you next weekend.
Oh, great.
But is there... Can I bring you some batteries for the penguin behind you?
The clock, you mean?
Yes.
Does it bother you that the clock is at high noon all the time?
It doesn't bother me. I just want to give.
You can bring anything you want. Bring yourself. That's the most important thing. I look forward to seeing you. It's always fun having studio listeners. Curtis B's here right now, Melanie and Steve, and John's coming in. He's going to put a battery in the clock just for you. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Greg is funny. Can I bring you some batteries for that clock? So tinnitus is interesting, or tinnitus, the ringing in your ears. There's a program, I should mention this on the air. There's a program called WHIST. It's not free, WHIST. And it turns out tinnitus is a perceived ringing. It's just nerve damage. There's no ringing, obviously. And it turns out that you can mask it. But you're right. The frequencies are different for everybody. So this application will, you run through a test process, and then it will make in my case, it's a white noise. It sounds like a shower. And when you have that shower going, you can't hear any ringing. You probably noticed that. You hear your ringing in your ears much louder when it's quiet than when there's stuff going on. So if it's really bugging you, this is a nice app because you can run it and then it just goes, and you don't hear any ringing. You hear the white noise, but you don't hear the ringing. But it goes a step further because there's some evidence that you can be trained to get rid of your tinnitus. So they have a training program that with it that I tried it. I didn't notice any improvement, but maybe I didn't do it long enough. Oh, I didn't mention the most important part of hearing aids. They're ridiculously expensive. It's outrageous. Yeah, they're a lot more expensive than an iPad Pro. That makes the iPad Pro look cheap.
Do you think they're going to take hearing aids and do a lot of the processing on phones linked through Bluetooth? Because they are obviously more powerful. They can kind of a tiny little thing and start doing more.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with that, of course, is that the microphone's in the hearing aid. It can't be in the phone because where's my phone? So it would, the microphone is in the hearing aid. So most of the processing is done right there in the hearing aid. And actually, the DSPs they're dedicated processors, so they're definitely designed for a specific thing. Yeah, that's what mine sounds like too, Art Chandra. It sounds like just a very high-pitched ringing. Yeah, the AC/DC concert, 1976. Whist, like the game. It's on the Play Store.
Yeah. We don't know if it will keep time.
Yeah, we've never used that clock, but at least now it's got a battery.
Seemed like there had never been a battery put in it.
Maybe that's true. I don't even know where it came from. Some nice, kind listener brought it. Oh boy, yeah. See, that's there are a lot of games on the Google Play Store of Whist. Oh. Wow, maybe I'll have to find it. Wow. Okay, let me find it because it's in my apps. No, can you have it search my apps? How about let's go paid. Wow. It's too bad it's so hard to find. Let me look on my I don't know if I have it on this phone. I don't think I do. I don't. Let's go back to my apps. I'll scroll through them. Oh, this is in some weird order. It's like alphabetical order. Oh, that's going to make it harder to find stuff. It's every app I've ever installed. Ay, ay, ay. Yeah, I'm on the store. I have to think about this. Oh, maybe it's not on Android. Huh. Oh, there. Thank you. Whist. Oh, yeah. Search for Whist tinnitus, of course. I'll put. There's a lot of interest in the chat room, so I think maybe it's a wider interest. This thing of tinnitus, where your ears are ringing, is not uncommon. I think a large, almost 20% of all adults have it. It's a form of nerve damage. It can be very annoying. I've had it almost my whole life because I used to, as a young man, sit in front of rock and roll speakers, and I'd come out with, remember that? You go to a rock concert, your ears would ring. Well, sometimes it doesn't stop. So, but there are interesting therapies designed for it, and so I was mentioning this app, and I'll put a link in the show notes to the app. But if you search for not just Whist, because Whist, it turns out, is a card game, a precursor to bridge, and so there are a lot of who knew there was still a lot of interest in Whist. So search for Whist space tinnitus or tinnitus, Tinnitus, and then you'll find it. And it's not free, but it's a very interesting app. And if you are suffering from ringing in your ears, it will help. Phil in Loveland, Colorado. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Phil.
Hi, Leo. Thank you for taking my call. Huge fan of your show. Really enjoy it.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. I consider myself relatively tech savvy, and I have a rather substantial home network, including Blu-ray, Fire TV, TiVo, and actually the Apple 4, the Apple TV 4, which so far I absolutely love.
Great.
I'm trying to cut down on my electric bill, and I've had several techie friends recommend that I power down all of my network components, including the router, everything except for the modem, on a daily basis. And obviously that would probably cut down on my electric bill. But I have other techie friends that say, oh, my goodness, no, that'll be terrible for your equipment. Don't do it. And I was wondering if you could give me a little thought and insight and perspective on this whole idea of powering down my network on a daily basis to try and cut down on my electric bill.
Yeah, there's a couple of things to say about this. I think the techies who say, oh, never turn it off, are thinking about the light bulb. When does a light bulb blow out? When you turn it on. Very rarely does a light bulb fail while it's on. If it off, almost always is when you turn it on. So the idea is you stress electronics less by just leaving them on. You don't have the sudden expansion contraction that you have from heating up and cooling down. And I think there is some merit to that. You don't want to turn them on and off too much. There's also the larger risk of if you turn something off when it's doing something, like you don't want to unplug your computer in the middle of a hard drive, right? That would be very bad.
Right. I always power down my desktop, before I turn it off.
But it's also kind of a pain, to shut it all down. There's also a benefit, by the way, to almost all computing devices. This includes tablets and smartphones as well as computers, laptops and desktops, to rebooting once in a while, maybe not daily, but once in a while. On the other hand, modern devices are really designed to sip power. All computers go into a low energy mode that is just a few watts. So I think the balance is you don't need it's and it's inconvenient if you shut everything down. Then you have this boot up time. It's going to take a while before you get computing again. So what I think is probably the most reasonable thing is it's okay to shut it down if you're not going to be using it for a lengthy period of time, and you'll have to decide what that length is. There are ways to measure the power consumption of your devices. Companies like Energate sell plugs. You plug in the wall and then you plug your power strip into it, and it'll tell you how much. You can actually look on your smartphone how much wattage is being consumed. That might be useful because that'll give you a good idea of how much is it costing me? If it's costing you a nickel a day, maybe that's not. There's also the environment, more than just the cost. You don't want to unnecessarily use energy. My general rule, first of all, I never turn anything off. I used to turn things off at night. Right. And now everything goes to such low power mode that I just leave everything on and reboot it once in a while just for for health's sakes. So that's me. If you're concerned, and we probably all should be. Now I'm getting solar put into my house for this very reason. I'm trying to use renewables because we use a lot of power. I have a lot of gear. But it would be I think it's good to monitor or measure your power usage before you decide, because it may be very little. It also has a lot to do with how much your utilities charge you. So you can also go on Amazon. There's a product called the Kilowatt, as in kill a watt, kill it dead. Okay. Amazon sells it for $17.57. It's a plug you plug into, and it will show you on a meter. The Energate goes to a smartphone. This one has a meter on the device. It'll actually tell you how much you're using by the kilowatt hour. So that you can directly connect to your costs. A kilowatt hour in California at its highest cost might be as much as 36 cents. So that could be a significant amount of money after a while. So I think it's worth taking a look at.
Okay. All right. By the way, I heard you advertising for Gazelle on your show.
Yeah.
And I gave it a try, and it was fantastic.
That's great news. I'm glad to hear it.
Really enjoyed it.
Well, thanks
okay,
for the
hey,
unsolicited. I've never met you before. Unsolicited plug.
Unsolicited
for our
plug.
sponsor.
You've never met me before.
Hey, thanks for calling. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Leo.
Yeah, I think Gazelle, weren't they just sold? I want to say they just got acquired by somebody. I can't remember the details of the acquisition. They said the Gazelle is a company that you sell your used stuff to, and they give you cash, and then they resell it on eBay or they resell it on their site. But they said that business has been down. You know why? Because Apple. This just shows you the power Apple has in the marketplace. Apple now will do a trade-in for the old iPhone. They in effect buy your old iPhone when you get a new one, and that alone has really impacted their business. They got sold to the company that makes those coin machines. You go into the store and you bring them your pennies. What's that called?
Coinstar.
Coinstar. That's what. Thank you. Have you ever done that?
I haven't because I'm too cheap. I don't want 10% taken away.
They take a little chunk out of it.
I'll count my own coins.
Do you really? And I used to do that when I was a kid. My parents would gave me like a little coin sorter and paper rolls and say, "All right, kid, if you want dinner, sort the coins." It's why I like Coinstar. And it also does some other things. It spits out buttons. That's nice because there's always a button or two in there. I don't know why. Some wag is throwing buttons in my penny collection. And there's a few, Canadian pennies. It spits those out too. 8888 ask Leo. David is in Australia. Hey, David.
Morning, Leo. How you doing?
Good. It's early morning.
It's about 20 to 4 in the morning at the moment.
Where are you calling from in Australia?
I'm about 100 kilometres north of Newman in Western Australia.
Oh, you're in Western Australia. Beautiful, beautiful. I love Australia. I really love it. And Western Australia, you're out in the remote regions out there. Perth and so forth. Yeah.
It doesn't get an awful lot more remote than we are. We're about 1,000 kilometres north of Perth.
Wow.
I'm on a mine site working at the moment. Well, I'm about to do day shift, so I've just got up.
Are you a photographer? What do you do?
I drive one of the big dump trucks at an iron ore mine site.
Oh, how interesting. Well, thank you for getting up so early to join us. Hang on, though. Oh, I hear the magic music. I got to take a break. I hate to do this to you. I hope you're on Skype, right?
I am indeed.
Okay, so it's not costing you anything. Hold on 1 minute. We got to take a break. Come back. We'll go back to northwestern Australia. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Outer Wall. They don't just own Coinstar. They also own Redbox. And the Eco ATM. They bought Gazelle. Outer Wall. That's a good little business. Coinstar, Redbox. I don't know what Eco ATM is. Must be like little.
Do your banks here have the coin counting machines too? Or?
No, you got them in Canada?
Some banks do. Yeah, like I know my branch has.
And they don't probably charge you. Yeah. In Canada, of course, being an enlightened land, you just bring it to the bank and you go here and they do the same thing as Coinstar without taking 10%.
Where did these come from?
I think it's because the tellers don't want to sit there and count.
Right. Well, that's why we had to put them in rolls and you'd bring your penny rolls in. I remember counting out 50 pennies to buy a Mad magazine when I was a kid.
Well, my credit union has one in the lobby, and yes, 10%.
They take 10%.
Somebody takes 10%.
It's probably Coinstar. Yeah. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Getting ready for Thanksgiving? Huh? Yeah. Here we go. Kind of a holiday week ahead. 8888 ask Leo. David, you don't do Thanksgiving because that's an American thing. Is there what is the in Australia? There must be a harvest festival of some kind.
I have to be honest and say, not really that I'm aware of.
Well, you're heading into spring. That's confusing.
I know we're just about crashing right into the middle of summer.
Yeah, already. Wow. Yeah, where you are might be a little warmer. I was just seeing the beautiful jacaranda trees in Sydney, the beautiful purple color. So what can I do? What can I do for you?
Well, I have a sad tale of an iPad that may be a coaster.
Oh no.
We have an iPad Mini. It's one of the first generation of iPad Minis that was my wife's, and I've decided to try and use it. It seems like I've done a reset of it when I plug it into the computer, and it's hung up on. It looks like her old iTunes ID, which has been killed off.
Yeah.
It's stuck with the whole, please turn off, find my iPad first, and then we can do whatever you're trying to do. Trouble is, there's no way that we can get into that ID.
This is what they kind of colloquially call a kill switch. They've updated. You must have updated iOS to at least iOS 8, or not.
In trying to do the complete reset, it says, "Oh, do you want to put the newest version of iOS on?"
Yeah.
Like, or I'll do that, and it turns out perhaps not.
Maybe not, because it's designed to prevent thievery. So if somebody steals it, they can't reboot it or reset it until you enter in your iTunes or iCloud password to verify that you're the owner. That's to reduce stealing. Now, I don't know if you can get around that. On the iPhone, I know that it's very hard to get around. I mean, it was originally designed for the iPhone. I think what I would try is what's called the DFU, which is the most hardcore of reboots. Apple doesn't, I think, even want you to know about the DFU.
Well, I've done the DFU reset.
Oh, you have?
When it comes up, when it's still plugged into iTunes, before you can go anywhere, it says, just one little thing.
Yeah.
I need you to put in the details for this account.
Yeah.
And then you can turn off Find My iPad.
And you don't know that password
if
anymore.
Anyone on the planet would know how to get around this. It might be the great one.
And you no longer have that password.
It was due to a 16-year-old, 17-year-old who was using it at the time who forgot his email address every few days. So at one point had like 27 valid email addresses and passwords.
Yeah, of course.
In that period, he goes, I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, is that frustrating? I mean, I think it's a little over much on Apple, but it does prevent people stealing your iPad. But I guess
it's in the iPad that we have.
I know. But it does. Yeah, it really gets in the way. Slow-Mo in our chat room says, he's heard of people calling Apple support, but you have to if you bought it from Apple, I guess you might be able to prove that you had. And then apparently there's something they can do. No, see, that doesn't make sense. He says you can recover it. So if you go to, I don't know how easy this will be to do if your teenager didn't set up recovery options. But you might try apple.com/I forgot.
I've been down that rabbit hole. I've had two phone calls to Apple Care, and we've kind of got really nowhere with that. My wife said she had this with her. She's got an iPhone 6 Plus, which had some issues a few months ago, and she had this same issue with them. She took it into an Apple store, and they magically did something, and it's all good now. And she's, of course, telling me, forget doing all this stuff, just go into the Apple store. But the people that I've spoken to at Apple say, there's no point, we can't do anything for you.
Wow.
They will simply call us. So,
wow. I don't know. I understand why they do this. I think that they've gone a little too far, but that's not unusual. Apple has their way of doing things. They ask me for the password way too much, in my opinion. So there's no way to factory reset around this. Gosh, you'd think criminals would have a way to do it. So if you're a criminal and you're listening to the show, we go into our chat room or call 8888 Ask Leo, and let's help David out here. That is incredibly frustrating.
I don't even have proof of purchase because she actually won it from a radio station.
Yeah. Golly. But, I suspect that on the one hand, you'd have to think they have some way around this. But
I'm just going to bite the bullet and make a genius appointment at the Apple store.
yeah, I mean, maybe they take it in the back and then they secretly pry the back off and short 2 pins, and all of a sudden it works. Gosh,
At this point, I don't care.
I just feel like there ought to be a way around this. If you're, clearly the owner. I mean, I understand they don't. Is it really that big an issue? I don't know. I would bet you that more legitimate owners are bit by this than bad guys. So it's good advice for anybody. If you create an Apple account and you set up an iPad or an iPhone with it, make sure you can recover that. Or you save the recovery information or write it down or something. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous.
We've even been down the point of had him on the phone because he mucked around with the account and did all kinds of things to it and set up the security questions and stuff. Even he doesn't know the answers to the security questions that he asked. That he was asked. Well, he can't give them the answers that he obviously gave them at the time. So
I would make a genius appointment, and maybe you could call upon the kindness of the geniuses, and they will just swap you out one. There's got to be some way, if they send it back to the factory, that they can reset that thing. There's got to be a way. I know there's a way. Otherwise, when they take them in for trade or whatever, there's got to be there's a pin somewhere you short, and it says, oh, it's you. Oh, hi. Yes, what is thy will, my master? And then they do it. Apparently, they call back. They call the servers, right? So they're checking in with the servers to see. Man, that's horrific. That's just horrific. I'm sorry, David. I don't have a solution for you. Nobody in the chat room seems to either. But keep listening and or check back at the website techguylabs.com, and maybe somebody will come up with a good way around this. Maybe somebody from Apple's listening.
I live in hope for a possible.
Yeah. Why waste perfectly good hardware? Oy. Well, have a good day in the mines.
Cheers, Leo.
Take care. Must be fun, though, driving those big trucks, giant trucks. Wheels as big as he is. 8888 ask Leo. Anybody have an idea? I guess could you jailbreak it? No, you can't even get into it. That's the problem. You can't even get past that setup. Man. Dave in Illinois, Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi there, Leo. How you doing?
I'm good. We got about 30 seconds before the top of the hour, but we can at least get started if you can hang on.
Yeah, I can hang on. 2 questions. One on an Epson printer. If you don't use it very often, and then you go try to print something, you gotta clean the head.
The jets get clogged. Yeah. We'll talk about that in a second. That's a good question. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More to come right after this. Our show today brought to you by Corning. Oh, I want to get I love doing my Corning demo. Corning is, of course, the name Corning. That's they're the kings of glass, aren't they? Your screen on your cell phone, 9 times out of 10, that's made by Corning, so it won't break. And Corning is big in fiber optics. Did you know that? Yeah, they make the fiber optic cables that almost everybody uses. And because they're geniuses with glass, they have created a new solution for fiber optic cables that is just amazing. These new Corning optical cables are incredibly light. Speed is so fast, and the throws are longer than copper cables. So the Corning optical cable's 50% thinner, 80% lighter. You can go up to 200 feet on the Thunderbolt cables, 165 feet on the USB 3 cables. And this is, to me, the most important thing. For years we've had optical cables on our storage area network because they're the fastest cables, they're the best cables. But my engineers would say, don't step on them. Careful, don't bend them, don't crimp them. So I'm going to show you these new Corning cables. They are even more robust than ever before. And Corning has brought me this kit that I can use to demonstrate it. It includes lasers. So here's a special Corning cable. The only thing special is they cut the end off of it. So I can show you. Here's the... now, you know that optical is basically light, right? The light passes at the speed of light down these glass fibers. And it's an amazing, fast way to get data. So watch, I'm going to put that on the laser. And then the other end of the cable, you should see, yeah. So let me just, so you know it's not doing anything when I disconnect it. There's the laser. Put the laser into the laser, and then the end starts blinking. But now, watch this. First of all, even this was something that everybody said, oh, whatever you do, don't tie a knot in your fiber optic cable. What? Don't tie a knot in it? I mean, a good tight knot. Is that going to hurt it? Oh, it's still going. What if we, okay, do not spindle, fold, and mutilate? What about crimping? Look at that. Jamming this cable into these holes. Crimping it as tight as can be. I mean, that is a tight U-turn. Is that going to slow down the light or break the cable? Well, with a normal optical cable it might, but not with these amazing Corning cables. This would be a great stocking stuffer for the geek in your life. They love the cables. They're so flexible. You can bend them, you can walk on them, you can tie them in a knot, and they keep transmitting at top speed. I've made up a slogan for them. Takes a bending and keeps on sending. Well, prove it. Disconnect it, right? There's the laser. Let's reconnect it to that twisted up cable. Sir, have I got anything up my sleeve? No? Look at that. It takes a bending and it keeps on sending. Actually, I think I stopped it from blinking. Wow. We're going to push the button. There you go. There's the blinking. I love Corning optical cables. I've replaced all of my Thunderbolt cables with my Macs with these. They're so good. USB 3 dot optical cables too. Speeds 20 gigabits per second for Thunderbolt, 5 gigabits a second for USB 3. There's nothing like it. In fact, Thunderbolt was originally designed for optical, and the engineers at Intel and Apple said, yeah, we're going to make them copper. Don't do it. These cables, by the way, where do I have some here? Yeah. I'll show you the actual cables. They have inside... So in order for these to work, what they do is this is copper, of course. You know, the regular USB side is copper. But in here's circuitry that takes the electrical signal and turns it into light. And then on the other end, vice versa, takes the light and turns it into electrical. Look how long this thing is. This is the 10 meter. They go all the way up to 50 meters for USB 3. High-end video, photography, audio production, computing, the best, most reliable cables out there. Corning optical cables. Longer, thinner, lighter, and stronger. This holiday season, give the tech lover in your life the gift of premium fiber optic cables. You know, it's just cool. Hey, I thought I'd get you some fiber optics. What do you think? USB 3 dot optical. And by the way, you'll save up to $60 off select Thunderbolt and USB 3 dot optical cables in the U.S. and Canada, Curtis. Corning.com/twit. Corning.com/twit. We thank them for their support of the Tech Guy Show. Is it still sending? You better believe it, boobala. Can you see it? It's kind of bright. The lights are bright in here, but it's still sending. It takes a bending, and keeps on sending. Corning. You know, it's more than that because I've been using the same cable, crimping it and bending it and tying it in knots for months now. This cable has taken a beating and still works great. I love it. Thank you, Corning, for your support of the Tech Guy Show and letting me play with lasers. Lasers. You would never do this with an optical cable. We've got the orange ones downstairs for the sand. Don't step on that, Leo. Leo, stop it. Oh, you mean they're not Corning? No, they're not Corning. Well, you should have got Corning.
It seems like there was an update to iOS 8, maybe,
yeah,
where all of a sudden the thefts went way down because you couldn't get...
Yeah, the kill switch. That was it. That's what we were talking about. He had updated it to iOS 8.
You haven't seen this yet. This is pretty neat.
What is this?
It's a tech guy had the correct answer.
Romano's LED backlight problem.
Yeah, was that yesterday or last weekend? I can't remember.
Please tell Leo the chat room was right. The backlight LED problem I called about in the tech lie. Oh, yeah, his display was dark. Was due to a burnout surface-mounted fuse on the motherboard. Yes, there's a fuse, and that was the backlight wasn't lighting. Was he able to fix it?
No.
Yeah, the chat room is one powerful hive mind. Unfortunately, the area is too scorched. Look how scorched it is to attempt to repair with some solder. So, no fix available. Hey, that's great, Romano. I'm so glad. Thanks for the update. I love it when we can get an update. And thank you, chat room. Very smart bunch of guys and gals in there. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography. Chris Marquardt, our digital photographer, will be here in about half an hour. And all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo. I just right before the end of the hour, just picked up Dave in Illinois. He's having some sort of problems with his printer. Your nozzles are getting plugged.
Yeah, I've got the inexpensive Epson. You give those high marks.
Love them.
If you don't print, let's say on a weekly basis,
right,
something like that, and then you go to print, the heads fog up.
And they have a little routine that they run to clean, which uses a lot of ink, alas.
Right. I'm just wondering if there's anything they can do about that. Whether it's better to just take the cartridges out.
No, it's the head. I think all inkjet printers are prone to this problem. I just don't know what the answer is to that. I think an inkjet may not be the best solution if you print really rarely. Of course, you don't want to spend more on a laser print. Lasers don't have this problem, but you don't want to spend a lot of money on a laser printer if you don't print a lot either, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Let me see if the chat room has a solution. You can get laser printers down in the $100, $200 range. They're not quite as inexpensive as inkjets. But if you're printing so rarely, maybe that's a good solution.
Right. Yeah, it's and it's for the family, so we just don't do it that often.
Yeah, that's good, right? We used to print a lot more. Gosh, I remember going through ink and paper like crazy when the kids were, in like maybe 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, and then now nobody prints anymore. You send it to the email the paper to the teacher. Yeah.
And the kids are kind of gone too. So
yeah. No, I know, and that's good. We don't want to print, right? Remember, we were going to all be paperless.
For work, I still print things out all the time. But
yeah.
Yeah.
So inkjets are better in an environment where you print at least once a week.
Right. Let me ask you another question then, if I can.
Sure. Not at all.
I've got a Nexus 7, one of the original ones. It's worked really well, but it's starting to slow down. It doesn't,
the 2012 Nexus 7s really were slow. I had one of those too. I got the 2013, the second edition, and that was a big improvement. Do update it. That did seem to fix a lot of the slowdowns on my original Nexus 7, and I'm told that was because the newer version of Android had trim support in it. And what was slowing down was the solid-state memory. The storage was slowing down. But once trim is installed in the operating system, it kind of cleans that up and gets it, kind of refreshes it back to the way it was. Certainly.
And I did do that one time, and it just seems like now it's slowed down again. So
yeah.
I was looking at getting another tablet. And I was looking at the Samsung, and now they've got the 9-incher, the Tab.
Yeah, those are great. I would not get the new Google Nexus 9. I think it's a little expensive. It's a little clunky.
Yeah.
Samsung's are just beautiful, and the Notes are designed with a better digitizer, so you can draw on them. You have a stylus and so forth, and the Tabs are just regular, more traditional tablets.
Yeah, and that's all I'm looking for. Is there a difference? Costco's got the Tab A on sale now for $260, and I thought that was a good price.
Wow.
But is there a Tab S? And
there is a Tab S. There is a Tab S. I don't know if buying an old one would be a big deal. The funny thing about about tablets, it's an interesting category because there's not a lot of pressure to buy another one. People are able to use the old ones just fine. So if you can get an older tablet, that's cheaper because it's, not the latest, greatest stuff, go ahead, go for it. Get an A.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, great. Thanks, sir.
You're very welcome. I appreciate it. I don't know what it is with tablets. We don't need them to do, it's not like we're conditioned by the early days of PCs when, the original PCs were designed to run DOS, a command line operating system that wasn't challenging at all. They could only do one thing at a time. So there was no multitasking. Graphics, are you kidding? So it didn't require a lot of horsepower. But then Windows came out 30 years ago. Suddenly, we started really driving those machines. And the processors of the day, the old, probably when it was a 286. Maybe it was even older than that, an 8086. I guess it was a 286 when Windows came out. And then the later 386 and the Pentiums. They were just barely keeping up because every time we'd get an improvement in memory space or processor speed, Microsoft would put out another bigger version of Windows and everything would slow down again. Those days are over. In fact, the last 2 or 3 versions of Windows, I think you could safely say Windows 7 was faster than Vista. Windows 8, faster than 7. Windows 10, faster than 7, 8, and Vista. And they've been getting smaller and faster. The processors are so fast now that there's really no need. So we have a paradigm of, you always want to get the faster processor because, new software is going to be more demanding. And that's not been the case in PCs and even less so in tablets. Apple does its best to make you buy a new iPad. Apple does do that, and I think they do it consciously. They make everything not run so well on the older ones. And I think that is not. I think that's more about marketing because there's no. You have even an iPad 1. What do you need a new one for? If it works, fine. And Apple's finding that out. iPad sales dropped. What was it? 19% last quarter, over the quarter before. Because you got one, right? You don't need another one. Works fine.
You can't replace the batteries.
And you can't replace. That's another reason they go obsolete. Of course, you can't replace the battery, but. Apple needs to build in planned obsolescence because, frankly, everybody's happy. Yeah, I like it. And the operating system isn't changing so much that you need to get a faster processor. Yeah, the processors are faster. I have this iPad Pro with a 9X, the A9X. Apple says it's desktop speed processor. I'm not sure that's true. It's definitely a really fast processor. And that's great because my Plants vs. Zombies plays exactly the same, doesn't it? Exactly the same. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. Let's talk a little bit of high tech here. Aaron in New York, you're next. Hi, Aaron.
Hi, Leo. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. I would just like to say thank you for the help you gave me yesterday about the steering wheel. That was a big help.
What'd you get?
I have decided to get the Logitech Force Pro from
Good. Did you looked at some reviews and people seem to like that one?
Yeah.
Good.
And today I have 2 more questions for you. One is all tablets, so that might be more up your alley.
Sure.
I have once again found 4 that I like: the Samsung Galaxy Tab 3 Lite, the KingPad K70, the Fire 7, the Asus ZenPad Z170Z. I was wondering which one.
I'm a fan of the Asus. Remember, the Fire is not a traditional Android machine. That's Amazon's tablets, and they have modified Android considerably. For instance, you can't use the Google Play Store. You have to use Amazon's own store and things like that. So while the Fire is a great deal, and if all you're doing really is watching movies and reading books and playing games, probably just as good as anything else, it isn't a pure Android device. And among the ones you mentioned, I really like the Asus. I think an Asus is a great choice. They do good stuff. And the thing is, they have to try harder. Samsung's a big name, right? So Asus is a little bit more innovative. They do a little more with the hardware. I think it's a great tablet. And by the way, the price is very good on the Asus. They're also aggressive in pricing. Fire is most aggressive, though. What did we bought 3 6-packs of tablets at the studio. 18 people because it was $50. So we bought them in 6-packs. That's how cheap they are. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Our musical director, Nathan Staten, digging deep into the vaults. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo. The website, I should really reiterate this more, is free. It's open. There's no sign up. I don't want your email address. And it's where we put all the information I mentioned, all the links, and additional stuff. So, for instance, if you're sitting and listening and saying, I know how we can reset that iPad, you go to the website, techguylabs.com. And, oh, look at that. I think I just got Marshmallow on my Nexus 7. I'm so excited. You go to the website, techguylabs.com, and links to everything, audio and video from the show after the fact, in case you miss a show. It's all there. And it's free. Don't charge for it. techguylabs.com. So we were talking about the Nexus 7. One of the things you really want, whether you get a Samsung or an Asus or a Google tablet, you want it to keep up to date. That's really important in the Android world. You know, there are older Android devices that are not being patched, that are insecure as a result because of the stage fright. It's not a virus, exploit. So it's really important that they be updated. So always inquire, or read up and say, is this getting updated? Is Samsung planning on updating this? How quickly? I think that's important. And that's one of the reasons people do buy Nexus products. Those are from Google, and Google guarantees those will get updated before anything else does. Doug is in Alabama. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Doug.
Hi, Leo.
It's a Sunday afternoon party at Doug's place.
Yeah, kind of got confused here. Hey, I got a couple questions on the VPN. I'm a long-time listener, and I heard you talk about VPNs.
Yeah.
My wife and I travel in an RV. We spend a lot of time in campgrounds.
Oh.
And I'm worried about security.
Yes.
So I subscribe to a VPN service.
So I have mixed feelings about this. A VPN stands for Virtual Private Network, and it is absolutely, I have no mixed feeling about this, a more secure way to use open Wi-Fi spots. When you're at an RV park or a coffee shop and you're using, or a hotel, and they're using, their public internet, even wired, but especially wireless, you're kind of vulnerable. Anytime you join somebody else's network, whoever else is on that network might have access to what's going on as you surf the net. So what a VPN does is very clever. You have to have two sides to it, your computer and then a server somewhere. People first started using VPNs when businesses started allowing employees to work from home. I've got a computer at home and I want to get on the company's network. Well, you do that with a VPN because, of course, the company has data they don't want competitors to see. It's private. So you would run the VPN software on your computer and then log into the company's VPN server. So you're the client, they're the server. You'd log in, and all the data going from your computer to the company's computer would be going through a tunnel, in effect, an encrypted tunnel that no one could see into. Now, once you get to the company's server, you're now on it's as if you're at work. You're on the corporate network. You can see the intranet. You can, do whatever you'd be doing at work safely and securely. It's authenticated. You can't get into it unless you have a password. And everything you're doing, all the transactions, all the text, everything is encrypted. That's where VPNs first started. But people realized this would be really useful if I'm on an insecure network, because I could use that insecure network to get to a secure network. So a VPN, there are commercial companies, lots of them, providing VPNs. And what they're really providing is a VPN server at their location that you log into. Almost all modern operating systems, even phones now, have VPN capability. That you no longer need to install software. You can do it, and you'll log into this remote VPN server. Now, here's the thing to remember. The data between you and the VPN server is encrypted and private. But at some point, you have to emerge on the public internet because you haven't negotiated how encryption would work with every website you visit and so forth. So you're going to emerge on the public internet, but instead of emerging at Starbucks or at the RV park, you emerged on the public internet from the endpoint, the VPN server. Now you're going out unencrypted into the world. and surfing. So the idea is it protects you against an attack from somebody on the network at the RV park or somebody watching your Wi-Fi traffic using a Wi-Fi snifter. Now, the reason I have mixed feelings about it is to do that costs money usually. You have to, you're really not going to set one up yourself. They're hard to set up. And if you set it up yourself, you have to have a remote server somewhere, right? Maybe it's your home, maybe it's your office. You could use the work VPN. Sometimes people do that to get out to the outside world. But generally, you're going to pay for it. It also slows you down because there's an extra transaction. You're going from your computer to a server somewhere, maybe across the world, and then out into the internet. So it can slow you down considerably. The reason I don't always use a VPN myself when I'm at a public access point is because more and more of my transactions on the internet are encrypted anyway. Google's really pushing this. Many sites you visit are HTTPS. That S in HTTPS means secure. That means that the traffic is encrypted. So even if somebody is watching you on the network at the RV park, all they're going to see is gobbledygook. It's encrypted. The most important encryption, of course, is on your email. And in particular, your email password. Here's the worst case scenario. You're not using encryption, and for some reason you're using an email provider that doesn't encrypt the login. So and I've had this happen, you type in you go to bademailguy.com and you type in your password. That's floating through the air at the RV park unencrypted. Now, here's the scenario. Bad guy gets that, doesn't tell you, doesn't do anything bad, just gets it. Now I can see every email, even after you leave the RV park, because he can log in as you. He's got your password. And, of course, once somebody has your primary email login, then they can go to all the other sites, including your bank, and say, oh, I forgot my password. Would you email me a new one? And now he's got everything. So that's the worst case scenario. But now, because of that, nowadays, almost any email provider, including Google's Gmail and Yahoo and Facebook, everybody, they're encrypting. So the bad guy can't even see your password. He can't get access to it. Make sure that you use an email service that does that. It'd be even better if they encrypted all the traffic, everything, so that people can't read your email as it's traveling through the air at the RV park. And it'd be best to, but if you think about it, your bank's encrypted. Most, I would hope, all online retailers are encrypted, Amazon, places like that. And Google's really started an initiative to make all traffic secure. There's actually a program you could use called HTTPS Everywhere that turns it on for sites that have it available. You want to encrypt whenever you can. And that's what a VPN does. But I think increasingly, because people are aware of this, you're seeing it's probably most of the stuff you do is already encrypted. You don't have to worry about it. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I'm so glad I never had marshmallow on this, I don't think. Took its sweet time getting here. Our show today brought to you by Gazelle. Oh, yes, Gazelle. Gazelle is a great place when you are ready for a new device to sell your old device. Whether it's an iPhone, an iPad, a Surface, a Kindle. Don't throw those old gadgets in the drawer to gather dust. That'd be like throwing away $100 bills. You don't want to do that. Go to Gazelle. Gazelle, Gazelle.com. It's easy and fast and simple. They turn it around fast, too. And the best part is you can get a quote that's guaranteed for 30 days. So you can go there right now and find out what your old stuff is worth, at least. Know what you're throwing in the drawer and decide later. So if, say, you want an iPad Pro, you're trying to save up, you don't know if you'll be able to do it, or you don't know if maybe for sure if you want it, or you don't know when you'll get it, just go to Gazelle, get quotes on your old stuff. Gazelle also now sells. So if you need a good deal on a used, gently used, pre-owned device, whether it's a Samsung Galaxy phone or an iPhone or an iPad, Gazelle will sell it to you as well. So I really think this is a great solution for anybody who needs to get a replacement phone. Maybe the kids broke theirs, or you just want to buy a phone for a kid and you don't want to spend a lot of money. Every device, of course, is fully inspected and backed by a 30-day return policy, so there's absolutely no risk, and the prices are great. The new iPhone's in stores, the new iPad's coming soon. Now's the best time to at least get a quote on your old stuff. And by the way, if you're buying pre-owned, this is the best time to buy pre-owned too, because lots of people are selling their stuff to Gazelle. Gazelle.com has an incredible selection of quality pre-owned devices at great prices. iPhone 4S through 6 Plus, standard Air and mini iPads. They even cater to the Android user with a variety of Samsung Galaxy phones. Gazelle, Gazelle.com. To buy and to sell, it's got to be Gazelle. Outerwall owns Coinstar and Redbox and the Eco ATMs. Chris Smartwatch.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm great.
Any analog purchases? Any film cameras?
No, I'm resisting. I'm fighting you guys off.
Good.
I think what I want is
Let me show you one. Look here.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Look how nice this
Oh,
is.
it's just gorgeous,
Look
isn't
how nice
it?
this
Oh. That's really pristine shape. Wow, is that nice
It
looking?
is, yeah. It's hardly used.
Did you buy it? You bought it used though, right?
I bought this used, yeah. This is I don't even know when this was built, but it's
I'm gonna find a plug-in on Silver Effects or something that will make my digital photographs look like film. I bet you there is. I bet you can get really close.
You go do this, but you won't have the experience of shooting.
I don't want the experience. It's too much work.
It's not.
It's too much work.
Look how this folds. Look how the viewfinder folds. Look at the mechanism.
I know,
on
it's
this.
elegant. Yeah.
You'll get a kick out of this. Here's how you open it. You fold it and then it unfolds and it goes click.
Oh, isn't that cool?
And it's got a loop in there, so you can actually have it magnify it.
Go away from me, you're the devil. You're the devil.
I'll put this to the side now. We're not going to talk about this on the show.
Yeah, you and Christopher Michael are also. He's also getting me. Is that the 2.8 E or F?
Oh, this is a 3.5.
3.5. Okay. We won't hold it against Chris Marquardt that he used to work for HP.
Yes, I did.
He's long gone now, and he's the photo guy. Joins us. How did you go? Were you into photography when you were a software designer? Is that what you did?
Yes, I was a project manager in some online facility, online stuff. But I started shooting. I don't know when I had the first camera when I was about this size, you know. I got my first SLR when I was 14. I kept practicing and learning and reading as much as I could about it. And
so did you
look what it got me?
While you're sitting in the gray corridors of Hewlett-Packard, are you thinking, I wish I could be a photographer?
Well, I had two passions next to the computer stuff, and one was acoustics, sound. So I wanted to be a sound engineer.
Oh, neat.
That didn't come to fruition because of an ear disease. That's kind of a hereditary ear disease in my family, which I luckily haven't really got, but it was too dangerous to kind of put all my money on one thing and then not be able to do it. So I decided to go to the second thing I loved, which was computers. And I did this until about 10 years ago.
How did you get the nerve up to be? Because I think there are others out there who are doing other jobs but love photography and would love to do it
I was laid off. I was laid off.
That's one way. You got pushed out of the nest.
They gave me the boot, and that's when over the last few years, I wasn't really that happy anyway. So
isn't that funny though? Sometimes something a disaster like losing your job can be the beginning of something exciting and new.
Oh, and I fully agree. It's really hard to give up that paycheck. You know, it's really that. But then, looking back, I'm not looking back to that. I'm so happy with what I'm doing now.
They do say the three most addictive things in life are carbs, heroin, and a monthly paycheck. So you kicked the habit. It's hard, though.
But I'm
isn't
working hard on the carbs.
Anyway, now for the last 10 years, he's been a photographer. He does a great podcast, Tips from the Top Floor, for photography buffs everywhere. Does great workshops at discoverthetopfloor.com. And what do you want to tell? And he's the devil, because he's been trying to convince me to spend more money on camera gear. Oh, look at that Rolleiflex. Oh, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, you can't have it. It's mine.
Oh. We talked a couple of weeks ago about film cameras, and ever since I've just had this dream. But there's a lot of work. Somebody called me and said, "Hey, you can have my darkroom." I have I can't remember.
You don't need a darkroom. Come on, you don't even need a darkroom.
That's what I said. I finally said, "Look, even if I do go film, I am not gonna start printing my own prints."
Oh, it's perfectly fine. Well, you can get your negatives developed in lab. You can scan them.
They still look filmic, right? They still look like film.
Of course they do. Of course they do. But let's not talk about let's not talk about film photography today. That's for another time.
Okay.
No. You apparently had snowstorms in the United States, and we just got the big first wave of snow here in Germany.
Did you?
So,
oh boy.
I thought I'd talk for a few minutes about shooting in snow and a few things to kind of think about. Let me see. Well, just a few tips. First, keep your batteries warm. There's always a good idea if you're outside, if it's cold, to have like one spare battery on you in your pocket where it's kept warm, just to make sure you can swap them back and forth. Actually, I had batteries. I had batteries kind of stop working from the cold, but they weren't really depleted. But I swapped them for a warm one, and then I swapped them back again, and they were still good. So. Warm batteries can help.
So if it's cold, they actually might lose their charge.
Well, they don't really, a bit, but they'll just get a bit lazy when it's cold, and
okay.
They're not as good at pushing those electrons out when it's cold. But
that's good.
If you warm them up, they get better.
All right.
When you shoot in snow, in snow.
Snow.
Snow. Yeah, Schnee. The German word is Schnee.
Yeah.
That's why. A bright sun in snow might be really, really harsh for your camera. Digital cameras have a hard time dealing with that.
It's harsh for your eyes. You wear sunglasses because it's so bright. Snow blindness.
I try to avoid the bright sun. If I shoot in snow, an overcast sky is usually easier for the camera.
Yeah.
Watch your footsteps. That's another one. If you find this beautiful snow scene, take the photo before you walk into it and ruin it with your footsteps.
That's right. Although a single set of footsteps going off into the distance might.
If that helps the story, perfect.
That might tell a story. Yes.
If that helps the story you want to tell, someone walking into the distance, but then you have to come back, and where do you go?
Yeah. What are you going to do? You're going to have to fly out of there. Yeah.
It's difficult.
Go all the way around.
Here's an important one. Snow tends to come out too dark in pictures, and that's because your camera is trying.
It's not white.
The camera's trying to be smart. The camera looks at the scene, and it says, "Oh, it's so bright. I have to darken it down."
Yeah.
And you want to look at what's called exposure compensation. If you find your snow shots come out too gray, crank that up a bit, +1, +2, and you'll get much nicer.
Okay, so a lot of cameras, even point and shoots, have what they call exposure compensation.
Exactly.
On my camera, it's a dial.
And it's a dial. It's a little plus-minus thing. And
so you're saying turn the brightness up?
Up.
Turn the brightness up.
It's very counterintuitive. The camera makes it too dark, and you have to kind of tell the camera it's okay. You're okay going a bit brighter.
Yeah.
So don't go further down, because that'll make it even worse.
Makes it grayer. Do you, if I have a histogram, do you want the snow to be clipping? Do you want it to be
you don't want to clip the snow. You want to keep it somewhere in the, let's say, in the right half, somewhere in the middle of the right half of the histogram.
So higher
at about
up.
3/4.
Yeah, I have a zebra thing that shows in my viewfinder if it's so bright that I'm not getting any information. They call it clipping.
Yeah.
Or so dark that I'm not getting information.
Don't clip the snow, because you want information there. You want information there.
Yeah.
Here's another thing. If you like to shoot birds in flight, normally that's a bit of an issue, because you always shoot them against a bright sky, and that means that the birds often turn out as silhouettes. If you shoot them when they fly over snow, you have a big reflector under them that lights them from below. So shooting birds in flight over snow is super easy and makes them look really good. That's a very good time to shoot birds in flight. And
what about snow? What about black and white for snow? I know you're going to have a last one, but before we go on to that point.
Well, black and white works really well, and snow photos often end up being
they tend to
kind
be
of black
monochrome.
and whitish anyway.
Yeah.
You know, they tend to be monochrome, so that's a good place to play with black and white and to reduce it even further.
Yeah.
Here's one more: snow photos. If you have a printer back home and if you're kind of like wary about using too much ink, snow photos, print them. They save a lot of ink. There's a lot of white in there. The printer won't have to print anything.
That's called using the empty space.
It is.
I love it.
Snow photos, just a few lines on there. Just
How
a
about
few details.
HDR? There's no reason to do HDR with a snow photo, is there?
Well, if you're into that, and if you have a very bright sunlit day and the snow gets you these very deep shadows and a huge dynamic range, that
maybe you
might
would.
be a thing to look at from an HDR point of view.
Get some pictures of snow. We have an assignment. What are people taking pictures of right now for our assignment?
It's still orange,
but not pumpkin.
No plants.
Orange, but no veggies. You could not leaves, no leaves even.
Well, I'll be nice and
just
maybe,
not pumpkins. Just no pumpkins. That's too obvious. Or an orange, like that would be obvious. An orange would be bad. Tangerines, cuties, tangelos, mandarins. Those are out.
Yes.
All right.
Satsumas. No satsumas.
No satsumas. But persimmons, maybe.
I don't even know what those are.
Take a picture. Label it orange and upload it to our tech guy group at Flickr. And maybe next week we'll do a review. Chris Smartwatch, discoverthetopfloor.com. Oompa Loompas? Yeah, no, those would be okay. Orange Oompa Loompas? Yeah. Kumquats? Sure, why not?
Kumquats are like little oranges, aren't they?
Yeah. I wanted to give a plug to Trey Ratcliffe. Speaking of HDR, because he's just put out a new HDR program.
Oh, I've
that
seen
is
that, yes.
beautiful and easy to use. And
I haven't tried it yet.
Inexpensive, $40. It's called Aurora. Yeah, I played with it. I just it makes it really. It's kind of got a Lightroom interface. You know, I've been using Photomatics, which I love, but the interface is clunky and old-fashioned.
Photomatics is kind of the big grande dame, the big the elephant in the room kind of.
Yeah, and he's made this very straightforward and does a beautiful job. It's not just tone mapping. He's got a lot of features in it. And then I was there and I went to, because it's sold by Mac Fun, which does a lot of nice plugins and so forth for Lightroom and Aperture and standalone. And they're having a big sale on their full kit. So, which is
does Aurora make you want to shoot more HDR?
No, I'm not a fan. But I like having a good HDR tool because I don't do the big tone mapping thing. But there are many times where there is a broad dynamic range, and I'd like to get more dynamic range.
That's what I typically use it for.
Yes.
Just to extend it by 2-3 stops.
Exactly.
Get a bit more detail in the clouds, or maybe if I'm in a room and the window outside is very bright and I want just a little bit more detail in there.
Yeah.
I kind of like the inconspicuous version of HDR where it doesn't really jump at you and go, oh look, I'm.
Yeah. No, that's the tone mapping, and it looks like a painting, which is fine. But
it's just a matter of taste, and it's just it's not really my taste.
Yeah. We had Vincent Laforêt on the new Screensavers yesterday
with
his new book, Air. Oh, man. You know, it was funny. Don't tell anybody. So we were talking off the air. Oh, I think I'm coming back. No. Okay. This is a secret. We were talking off the air about how he shot it. He's off Canon, 1DS and 5DS and one. What is this? Wine?
Leave it long enough, it'll turn into wine.
Oh, it's the other way around. It was wine. It's now vinegar. Thank you, John. But he shoots telephoto in these helicopters. He go very, very high because he wants to flatten it a little bit. He also does some tilt shift, which is really cool. But then I said, what lenses are you using? He uses only primes, sometimes very wide as 8. And then, but a lot of times he uses the 200 prime. But then he said, but you know what I ended up using is Otis. I use the Zeiss Otis lenses because edge to edge.
Best sharpness?
Perfect sharpness. and it's very hard, and these he's not cropping; these are uncropped, and so he said I couldn't get, I was having all sorts of issues, and so the optics in the Otis.
Are they that good? Wow. Okay.
Just a little tip.
Well, I shoot. I shoot pinholes. So
yeah, well, you don't care. Barrel distortion. What does that matter?
I do care, but then I also care about these and.
Yeah. Well, I think he also needs very fast lenses, right? Because
definitely up there. I mean, you need stabilization. You need. I think he uses gyroscopes to stabilize.
He does.
His
He
camera.
has a gyroscope on the camera.
Yeah, which is a big, heavy thing hanging under the camera that takes the vibrations out, and then you need fast shutter speed still. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes.
So now
all right. There is a slight chance that I won't be able to join you next week, but definitely the week after that. But I will let you know via email.
Fear not, my friend.
I'll shoot you a mail and
let me know. Thank you, Chris.
All right.
See ya.
Definitely. Take care.
Take care. Happy Thanksgiving. You don't celebrate. Bye. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo. That's the phone number. If you have a question, a comment, a suggestion, I'd love to have some interaction with you here. In fact, why don't we go to the phones and say hi to Joey in Laguna Beach, California. Hi, Joey.
Hey, I inherited an older LCD TV, and evidently they did not, at this particular time of production, include a coaxial, like an F-type with the screw and the pin in the middle. Didn't include that kind of a connection to it. And
you mean like your cable connection?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And my cable box, which is an older one from Verizon, it does not have an HDMI or a DVI input, but the TV has DVI in only. And
I see. But your cable box has HDMI out, right?
No, it doesn't. No, it's an older one, and of course Verizon wants to charge me like an extra $20 a month so that I can get that. And
so on an HD TV, you first of all, most of the time nowadays they don't have a coax connector because all the cable channels have gone to encrypted signals, right? So you have to have a cable set-top box. You can't just plug. The coax really may even be more for an antenna, unencrypted over-the-air signal than it is for a cable signal. Certainly wouldn't work today.
I actually bought a TV, I think it was less than a year ago, and tried it out here at the house, and it did have coaxial. I mean, most of them do still. It was evidently there was just this period of time when they did not include that on these TVs. This is probably a 10-year-old TV, but it's free. So I'm trying to figure out how to get it to work.
So what is the output on the? Really the issue is not so much the TV.
It's the box.
It's the box because a DVI into the TV can be converted to HDMI. You'll still have to get audio into the TV, but so that's not the issue. It's a digital into the TV. Might not be a TV. Right. It might be a monitor. That might be why it only has DVI in. That sounds more like a monitor than a television.
Then what would I do?
Well, what is the output of the cable box?
The only thing that it offers is coaxial.
Coaxial out?
Yeah. That's it. It's an older box. I mean, I'm currently using an old Sony CRT Trinitron, which is a great TV. I just can't afford the upgrade to the digital, so I'm just trying to watch TV is really all.
Yeah, but it's going to cost you more than you think to get a coax converter because really. That's an active box that converts from analog to digital, basically.
Right. Yeah.
So I think your best bet is to upgrade your cable box. If you get HDMI out of that cable box, it's an inexpensive adapter, merely an adapter to go HDMI to DVI, although you still have to get sound out. Sound is not carried on the coax.
I've got stuff like that. I've got composite. I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, so HDMI carries sound, the coax carries sound, the other digital signals do not. So you'd have to have the sound cables going into the TV. I presume the TV has sound input, maybe not.
No, it does.
It does.
I'm just, I just got it like 2 days ago.
So you have a little red and white RCA jack on the TV.
Yeah,
Okay.
I got that, yeah.
So that's for sound, left and right sound. Although, again...
I talked to Jack over at Monoprice here.
They're the guys.
over here.
Yeah.
Do you know him?
I don't know Jack, but I know Monoprice.
Yeah, well, of course, and if that's the reason why I called him, they have one over here in Ontario Mills and Ontario.
If they've got a solution, he'll understand better than anybody how to do that.
Don't, and that's why I told him about you, and I said that, you're the one that recommended Monoprice to me. I bought so much stuff you wouldn't even believe from them since I've heard from you, and I said, you're the best advertisement you got. But this guy, Jack, I mean, if you call the helpline over there. He was unbelievable. I mean, this is the kind of customer service you didn't.
I know, and they have the best prices, so they're really they could cheap out on you here with the service.
And you know what? He couldn't find anything for it, so he told me to call the helpline. Not call, but go into the chat room tomorrow morning.
The problem is you have the TV is not the problem. The problem is your cable box.
Right, exactly. Which I'm trying to avoid. Is there any kind of
Is there anything else coming out of that cable box? Is there red, green, blue RCA cables or red, white, and yellow RCA cables? Anything else?
Yeah, we have composite.
I thought you said only coax. What's coming out of?
We have composite video and all that stuff. So
the lowest
everything I'm doing is pretty old. Old school.
The lowest quality is composite. That's red, white, and yellow. Yellow carries video, and then the red and white is left and right sound. That's the lowest quality, and it's analog. Next step up would be S-video. That's a weird-looking cable. That's also analog. Next step up from that is analog HD, and it's called component. Then you get red, green, and blue connectors, plus you'd still use the red and white audio connectors. Now, if you've got component coming out, that's probably what I would use. And you could call Jack back and say, do you have a component to DVI adapter? That they will sell. It's going analog to digital, so it's going to be $100 thereabouts, because it's active. You can get adapters that, don't do anything. They're just changing the cable connectors. Those are usually cheap, especially for Monoprice. But if you have active circuitry, it's got to take the analog and digitize it. You're buying, basically, a device to convert analog to digital. That's a video capture device. That's the kind of box you're talking about. And those are not inexpensive. They also add issues. For instance, you're now going to take the audio out of the cable box, put that into the audio of the TV, but it's not going to be in sync with the video. It's going to be completely out of sync, in fact, because audio is going to go right in there, and the video is going to have to be converted. It might even be as much as 100 milliseconds or more off. An AV receiver would have a way of adjusting that, but neither of those devices, the TV or the cable box, will. So that's a non-starter. There really isn't a good solution to this. The only decent solution is to go to Verizon and get an HDMI, get a modern cable box. In fact, a good cable box probably have DVI and HDMI. You're still going to have a sync issue. You're going to have to do something with that. It's kind of a mess. It's kind of a mess. And this is how it used to be. That's why we're all so enamored of HDMI, because it just does it. It's automatic. It gets the digital out, gets full HD video. Copy protection is not an issue because it supports the copy protection, so everything plays. And audio is attached. It comes on the HDMI as well. So I don't, you've got a better really contact than me. You've got Jack at Monoprice. I'd talk to him. And tell him you got to tell him you have component out of that, because you can get component to DVI, but the audio is going to be a real issue. The sync of the audio is going to be a real issue. News at the top of the hour coming up next. We got lots more calls, lots more to talk about, and yes, Chris, you're next from Miami. We'll talk about Apple's photos. Whew, that could be a challenge. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Stay right here. Our show today brought to you by those great Epson EcoTank printers. A big pat on the back for Epson. Instead of trying to make a lot of money on cartridge sales, they just decided, heck, let's just give them 2 years of ink right there in the box. A big old tank on the printer that holds, well, like for this printer, the ET4550, 11,000 black pages worth of ink, 8,500 color pages. That's about 50 ink cartridge sets. So no more will you be halfway through a job and out of ink, at least not for a couple of years. And when it comes time to buy ink, oh, man, these are very, very affordable ink replacement bottles or little sacks there, depending on the product, and it just makes it easy. And you got another, 2 years to go. Epson's EcoTank printers, the whole line of Precision Core printers, including the high-end, heavy-duty printers that come with 20,000 pages of ink in the box. And, of course, you get all that Precision Core goodness, 40 million droplets a second. That means super high printing, like 3 pages a minute printing. Laser quality black text, super vivid colors. It's a great photo printer. It's a great paper printer. Plain paper plus 2-sided printing automatically. I love that. Saves me so much paper. They've got a 30-page document feeder on the 4550. That's enough to, makes it so easy. And it works, which is awesome. For scanning, for printing, I love it. Easy wireless printing, too, from tablets and smartphones. And all Epson printers deliver an unbeatable combination of convenience and value with ultra-low-cost replacement ink bottles. Now you have the freedom to print without running out of ink. Epson.com/EcoTank. Visit today to transform the way your home, your office, or your work group prints. For the best combination of ease and value, the new Epson EcoTank printers. Epson, exceed your vision. Visit epson.com/EcoTank. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, anything with a chip in it. This is what we do. At 8888 Ask Leo. Chris is on the line from Miami. Let's kick things off this hour. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Leo. Thanks for taking the call.
My pleasure. What's going on?
What's not going on?
Oh, boy.
Software.
Photos. I know that's what you're calling about. I see, because Kim told me. Photos is Apple's late substitution for iPhoto. I thought iPhoto was great.
Yeah, me too.
But Apple decided, in its infinite wisdom, to kill iPhoto and replace it with Photos.
Yes.
I don't know why companies do that. You got a good thing. Why, Now, I wish they do it with iTunes. iTunes is junk. They really need to fix iTunes, and instead they fixed something that wasn't broken. So what's your problem? What's going on?
Well, last night I was on the phone with Apple yet again for another 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was a two-part horror show. One, having trouble. My iTunes works great until I add in Apple Music. So I sent everything up to the engineers because that's who it's all about nowadays is the engineers. The photos, that's another thing where I spent 45 minutes yesterday deleting all my duplicates. And basically when I closed iPhotos, they all appeared when I reopened it again. So that was fun. And I said, what happens with El Capitan? Why was it released with all these issues? And she said, well, because in beta it worked.
Yeah, until you got it, it was fine. And Chris got it, and it broke. So really what this is, I think, is all about is iCloud. Let's be honest. This is what's going on. Apple really wants to – Apple's never been good at cloud services. But for some reason, they've decided that's where they want to go. So Mobile Me was a historic train wreck of such proportions that according to the Steve Jobs biography, Mr. Jobs called the entire Mobile Me team into the Apple auditorium, said, you guys are embarrassing me, you're embarrassing the company, and you're all fired.
Yeah, I know. I love that.
Yeah, except it didn't get better. Then they so they had .Mac, they had Mobile Me, and now they have iCloud. And it seems to me bits and pieces of each are all still stuck in all of this. The idea of Photos was, I guess, laudable. I mean, it is solving kind of a common consumer issue. The idea was, okay, all your photos, when you get at home with your camera, you connect it up. Photos, I keep saying iPhoto. It's not iPhotos. Photos copies your pictures over. And by the way, if you started from scratch, you wouldn't have these problems. It's the move from iPhoto to Photos, I think, that's part of the problem. But anyway, so you get home, you connect your camera, Photos sucks up all the images, you can modify them or whatever, and then if you've turned on iCloud Drive, and obviously that's what Apple wants you to do, they encourage you to do that all the time, the originals are uploaded to the cloud, where, by the way, Apple makes money because, of course, they only give you 5 gigabytes for free, so you have to pay the $1.99 a month for the 200 gigabytes. That's what most of us, I think, are probably doing. $24 a year, another $24 every year Apple gets. And now our photos are there, and then when I log into my iCloud account with my phone or my tablet, the appropriate size versions of those images are copied to those devices. And when I take pictures, they upload the originals to iPhoto. They keep appropriate size device copies, and it will come back to your computer. It all syncs. Everything's beautiful. The sun is shining, and the birds are singing. The problem arises when you come in from iPhotos. Because iPhoto, that now you've got to copy your stuff over, and you're getting duplicates because of the synchronization. I think the best way to get rid of the duplicates would not be to do it on your local computer, but do it on the cloud. Go to iCloud.com and see your photos there and get rid of the duplicates if you can.
One more can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
If I wanted to skip using Photos, because iPhoto was phenomenal for me, but is there something out there besides paying Adobe $9.99 a month to use another software that does just photos?
No, Lightroom is really the best choice out there. There is Picasa. That's Google's solution. That's free. And in fact, I think Google, if you want to compare Google and Apple, this is something Google knows. This is what Google is a cloud company, right? So their Photos, by the way, they call it the same thing, works beautifully. And you could just use that. But you say you want a desktop application, do you use it to organize or to edit, or how do you use Photos?
Everything.
Everything.
Yeah, everything.
Yeah, so you could use Picasa. I don't know how much longer Picasa is for this world. You kind of don't know with Google. They had the Photos, cloud photo stuff was associated with Google+, then they detached it, and it was using Picasa Web, but they detached it. I don't know what Picasa's role in this is going to continue to be, but for right now, it's kind of like iPhotos plus the cloud stuff. So I think Google's done a good job with that. Okay. And by the way, the same thing with iTunes. It's exactly the same problem, because as soon as you turn on your Apple Music, now suddenly you not only have the music you have in iTunes, you have 30 million other songs, and it's confusing. And if do I use Match? Well, yeah, well, okay, but does that? And so I actually was a good reason for me to unsubscribe from Apple Music and turn it off, and then iTunes behaves like it used to.
Yes, it does actually, because when I turn it on, I get the what do you call that ball? The
beach ball of death.
Yeah. And then when I shut it off, it's normal again, Leo.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah. Leave it off. Apple doesn't, they have hired and hired. They've done everything a company could do to make their cloud services good, and I just don't know what the problem is. They can't figure out cloud. So, yeah, my solution is not to use Apple's cloud services. I use iCloud basically for backup. Mm-hmm. And that's fine for that, for the iPhone and so forth. I did turn on Photos, but I use Lightroom. So Lightroom is like my power tool. I turn on Photos so I could see what a train wreck it is. Yeah. And if you start from scratch, I've never, by the way, but successfully imported my old photos into it. But when you start from scratch, it works great.
Okay, that's a thought.
Yeah, just put your photos somewhere else. Store them somewhere else. I think Lightroom, if you're a serious photographer or you think about getting serious, if those images are important to you, Lightroom is worth $10 a month. You get Lightroom and Photoshop for $10 a month.
That's not bad.
It's a pretty good deal. I mean, Photoshop used to be $800. So for $120 a year, you get that and Lightroom. I think that's a pretty good deal. And they keep it up to date. And it really is the tool. If you use an iPad, the Lightroom on the iPad, you can synchronize collections. I use the iPad to kind of triage through my photos, to look at them, to browse, and then it automatically synchronizes with Lightroom on my desktop. There's a lot of good reasons. if you're serious about photography, and we all are now, even if you just use your iPhone to take pictures, a lot of good reasons to pay the $10 a month. I'm a little disappointed that Apple hasn't got this better. You know, Apple used to be famous, right, for usability, the computer for the rest of us. I don't know, you know, now that I think of it, I don't know if that was ever true. It was good marketing rhetoric, but was it? I guess in some ways, I mean, compared to what else was out there, yes. But those days are long gone. Apple is a big company, makes a lot of money, mostly selling, almost all selling iPhones. And I feel that they don't, they just, I don't know. Is there a shortage of engineering talent in the world? Maybe. I mean, you're competing against Google and Facebook, but you have some stock that's worth something. Seems like you should be able to get some good engineering talent. This is Apple. Why is it so hard? I don't know. Really, the only thing Apple's really great at, marketing. Boy, they're good at that. There's nobody close. And then maybe that's all you need these days. 8888 Ask Leo. We'll go back to the phones in just a little bit. Katie's on the line. We'll talk to you, Katie, in just a second. She wants to buy a gift for her brother. Oh, so sweet. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Calendar. But synchronization is notoriously hard. I mean, that's a very hard thing to do. And it rarely is hard if you're starting from scratch, right? It's only if you you're going from one thing to another, right? If you're going from Palm to Apple.
Don't work on the migration part.
Yeah, that's right. You get duplicate. But all sync does that. I mean, that's always been that way. That's notoriously hard to do. Google really seems to have solved it better than anybody else, I think. What else are they great at, Brian NW? Tell me what else Apple's great at besides marketing. They're really good at marketing. They're good at design, I guess. They're good designers. They got a very good designer. In fact, I think really some of the problem with Apple is that design is so important at Apple that it trumps functionality in some cases. So good. Okay, I'll amend that. Marketing and design. None of the Mac Fun apps do like our what you want is like Adobe Bridge. You want an organizing program. I don't think Mac Fun makes that. I think it's all plugins for like cleaning up stuff and black and white. I use their was it Tonal Pro? It's really good. Tonal is really good black and white. Tonality. That's it. Yeah. No, they have great. Mac Fun does a good job of taking fairly technical stuff and making it accessible. Yeah, they're good at high prices. Okay, there's three things Apple's good at: marketing, design, and high prices. And I'm a huge fan of Apple. I'm an Apple fanboy from going way back. I bought a Mac in the first 100 days. I only use Macs. Well, that's changed a little bit. I like this Surface Book. But no, the Mac Pro trash can, what a horrific product that is. And come on, was I right declaring that the Apple Watch is a flop? I was right. Let's admit that, right? I can now safely say I was right. It is a flop, right? It's a sells well flop. I'm not saying it's not a successful product. They made a lot of money.
I think it's for all smartwatches at this point.
But all smartwatches are. Yeah, they're all kind of. It's a challenging category. It's expensive and it's hard. Apple's Watch is worse than Android Wear in the respect that it has way too many controls. You know, at least Android Wear, it's all on the screen. With Apple, there's a button, there's a dial, you can click the dial, you can swipe the screen, and it's way too confusing. But that's partly because it's such a small device. You like your Mac Pro? All right, Mike B. I had nothing but problems with the Mac Pro. On the 5K iMac, which I use now, is great though. Although I take it back. I have problems with that too. I think that they deprecate functionality sometimes for design. No, it's good. I mean, this thing has been running. But, for instance, on my 5K iMac, I noticed sometimes it gets slow for some reason. I don't know what's going on. It just kind of hesitates. I guess every technology does that. But Leo Laporte, the tech guy, we had a conversation during the break with the chat room because I think I misspoke. I said Apple is only good at one thing, marketing. That is not true. That is not true. That's not fair. Apple's good at two things, marketing and design. They're very good at design. Marketing, well, wait, three things, actually, that we finally can. Apple's very good at marketing, design, and making money. They're really good at setting high prices and getting them. And that's kind of goes back to the marketing. And that's not really completely fair. I love my Macs. I love my iPads. I love my iPhone. It's hard not to love them. Katie is on the line from Long Beach. Hi, Katie. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. So my question is, it's my brother's last Christmas here, in my house before.
Is he going to college?
Yeah, he's going off to college.
Oh, Katie, are you sad?
Not really. What?
Are you getting his bedroom?
No. I asked, but that's a no.
No? What are they going to use his bedroom for?
They're going to keep it his, so whenever he comes home, he'll have, his own space.
That figures, doesn't it?
Yeah, I know. It's
Man.
It's not fair.
It's just not fair.
Yeah,
you put in the years.
Yeah,
you deserve that bedroom.
4 years.
Yeah.
At his bedroom.
Man. Where's he going to college?
He doesn't know yet.
Oh, he's not going to college. He thinks he's going. No, I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing. That's great. No, that's hard. Are you the last sibling there, or you have a younger sister or brother?
Nope, just me and my brother. So I'm the last.
It's
kid.
hard because you're the parents and you're the focus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to be getting all the attention.
Oh yeah, but that's not always good. Where are you going, Katie? What are you doing, Katie? Are you going on a date, Katie? Who's the boy, Katie? We got to meet the boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's now. That's
Already happening, huh? Yeah.
Yeah. So my question is, I saved up $125, and I want to buy him a tablet for Christmas.
Aren't you sweet?
I'm pretty poor, so I don't know what I can get.
Oh, I could tell you something great, actually.
On the market.
It'd be really good for him for college. It's Amazon's Fire tablet. And they make a variety of them. They start at $50. Normally, I don't recommend inexpensive tablets. Like you can get a very cheap tablet at the gas station, an Android tablet for like $50. Don't normally recommend that. But Amazon can sell good tablets for not very much money because they make the money when you buy the movies and the books and all the other stuff, right?
Yeah.
So they make an 8-inch Fire tablet. And I would wait to Black Friday because I bet you they'll have a good deal. Right now, the 8-inch Fire tablet is $150. The 7-inch is well, they have two. There's one that's $65 and one that's $50. So you can save some money on that, or buy them two.
Yeah.
Buy yourself one. So what?
That's smart. Thank you.
Yeah, this is good for games. This is good for watching movies and TV. When he goes to college, this is going to be a great thing for him to have. Put on the headphones, he can watch Netflix.
Yes.
Yeah. See? So I think you go to Amazon and you look at the Fires, but don't buy it today because I think they're going to have some pretty good Black Friday deals. And Amazon, you're getting actually for that price an amazingly well-made tablet.
Okay.
All right? Yeah. Don't get a Pantech. You can there's cheap Android tablets. They're no good. Don't get that. Get the Amazon. All right?
Okay, thank you.
You're a good sister, Katie. Man. But I think you deserve the bedroom. I really do. I think I'm going to hear from her parents now, aren't they? They're going to yell at me. Gregor in Reseda, California. Hi, Gregor. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. So good to hear you again.
Thanks for calling.
A couple months ago, I discussed with you an issue that I was having problems with my email, and you said to get rid of it. It was Juno. I have done that.
Good.
And then you said to go to a specific website maker or something, where I could make a website, and then all my emails could go to that site. Or
No, yeah, not exactly. Okay. So you don't need a website at all.
Okay.
But you want a domain name. See, what you want is a custom email address. And you could even have it sent to Juno if you want, or you could have it sent to Gmail or anywhere. And the reason you have a custom address is because it's just a forwarding address. And you keep it. You never change it again. So you don't have to tell anybody, I've changed my email or anything. It's yours forever. It's also a little more professional looking. Instead of saying, Gregor at hotmail.com, it says, Gregor at Gregor.com. And by doing that, it's easier for people to remember. It looks more professional, and you can choose whatever email provider you want and just have the mail go there. It just forwards it to there. So it doesn't need a website, just needs a domain name.
So how do I get it done?
Well, there are lots of companies that'll do this. We have a sponsor, or I guess they're not a sponsor anymore, but I'm still going to give them a plug, hover.com.
What's the name? Hover,
H-O-V-E-R, yeah. And so...
Hover at .com or what?
Well, you get a .com. Go to hover.com, enter what you'd like. Could be your last name or whatever. And they'll make suggestions. They'll say, well, you can get, Gregor.club. You can get, you can get a lot of stuff. So pick the one that you think will be easiest to remember, make the most sense. And then you're going to pay, that's cheap. That's $15 a year. And then in most cases, it depends what you get. If you get .tv, it's more expensive. Different domain names can be more expensive. But then once you get that, you're going to get their email service. Now, you don't need to get, actually, you don't need their email service. I'm sorry, I take it back. You need to, they have an email service where they are your email provider. You don't need to do that. You just need to use forwarding so that anything that comes to Gregor.com, obviously you're not going to get Gregor.com, but whatever you decide to get will automatically go to whoever you're using for your email. And that's a little more complicated. What are you using for your email system?
Well, actually, now I've gotten Gmail.
Perfect.
And I had an old one that I've added ones to from DSL Extreme when I had them for my provider.
Yeah, see, isn't this nice? From now on, you don't have to say, well, you could use this address or that address. You're going to have a nice professional sounding address that's going to be, it could be your last name, could be your company name, could be something fun, whatever you decide. But that's going to be your address for the rest of your life. And you can have Cover set it up for you. You could talk to them, or you can look at instructions online and have it automatically forward. It's very simple to do. You modify the DNS records, and it will automatically forward to Gmail, let's say. But say something comes along that's better, like, I don't know, Hmail. Say Hmail comes along, and you say, I like Hmail. You just change the forwarding, but people are still sending it to Gregor.com. That's the way to do it. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Gregor.com could be available. Apparently hasn't been updated since 2004. It's a cobweb site. So that's called delegation, PS Chops, and it's a great question. I didn't want to burden Gregor with that. But so if you don't tell Gmail to delegate, you're right. Any email that you respond to in the Gmail system will come out with your Gmail address. But there is a setting in Gmail that says, I think they call it delegation. That's the technical term for it. Maybe they call it something else. But it'll say, email sent from this account should appear to be from Gregor.com. So, for instance, I use Leoville.com. So, but all my mail goes to Gmail. Actually, it goes to Gmail and then it goes to Fastmail. It goes through a whole bunch of stuff. But if I respond from any system, it always says Leo at Leoville.com because I have it set up that's how it appears. If somebody gets inquisitive, they can look into the headers and see, oh, he's using Gmail. That's easy to do. But you're not trying to hide that you're using Gmail. You're just trying to make it easy for people to remember your address. So I've been on many different email systems, but Leo at Leoville.com has been the same email address for 15 years. So delegation is the solution to that. Oh, and that's another point. Thank you, Solid Pixel. Even if you buy it from Hover, it's yours. So you can move registrars anytime you want. If if you could do Google domains is $5, you can say, "Oh, I'm going to change," and now it's $5 a year. You're not required to stick with Hover.
I got myself a Starfleet.com.
See, that's a good address. Now you really are a Star Trek fan. Wow. So there's some company that offers Starfleet.com?
Not Star Trek, Starfleet.
Starfleet, much better. Because you're at the Academy, yeah.
And I got it a couple years ago.
Oh, nice.
Open, so I got just my first name.
Yeah.
Because I live under 2 last names, so.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of it, right?
I haven't really gotten so far as to tell anybody about that one yet,
But
I should have it go to my other one.
Yeah. That's it. Just have it. You don't ever need to get and that's why you don't need to buy email. So Hover sells an email service, but you're not going to have them store your mail. You're just having them. You just change it's the technical term is you're changing the MX record to bounce your mail somewhere else. That's all. That's nice. That's nice. But you pay how much for Starfleet? That's not bad at all.
It could be for a whole.
Right.
They would also store the email there.
It's $10 a year. This says here. You have your own Star Trek address.
Yeah. Starfleet.
Maybe I should do this.
I mean, it was like, hey, I was too much of a geek.
I could be Captain Kirk at Starfleet.com. I bet that's taken. This is good. $10 a year.
Yeah. In the first year it was 15.
And that actually gives you email.
Yes.
Wow.
Email there.
That's actually really a good deal. Yeah. How it works. Our fantastic new email service lets you know show the world you're a supporter of Star Trek. So who should I be? Should I be Leo at Starfleet.com? It's available.
Should be Captain Leo.
Should be Captain Leo.
Admiral Leo, that's good.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I'm sorry, I was distracted. I was buying a new email address. This is good. Let me buy this before I tell you. I don't want anybody to take it. Oh, man. Don't you hate CAPTCHAs? I have tried 3 times to get the CAPTCHA right. And I know I'm going to lose this email address. All right, I think I know what this one is. Yes. So this is Starfleet.com. Starfleet.com. So Melanie's in our studio. She's visiting from beautiful Orange County. And she said, my email address is at Starfleet.com. I said, you are at Starfleet? She said, no, just my email. And you can it's cheap, $10 a year, have a Starfleet.com email address. So there you go, Gregor at Starfleet.com. Wouldn't that be awesome? It's not, so you don't even have to go to register a domain name. I like the idea of having your own domain name because that's, if you're a business, you don't want to get your email at yahoo.com or AOL.com. You want to have your business name. We have twit.tv. That's my business name. So I'm Leo at twit.tv. We have techguylabs.com. That's my website, Leo at techguylabs. So that looks more professional, I think. And it still may go to Hotmail or Yahoo or AOL. Nobody needs to know that. That's your thing. Sam in San Diego. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Almost. Hey, look at. I talked to you before and you helped me out, and I got another problem now.
Uh-oh.
My wife's iPad, the mini iPad.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I can't get onto the online with it. It won't connect to my web.
Yeah. Okay. Are you using Wi-Fi? What are you using? How are you doing this?
Oh, the Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a Netgear component here.
And when you join the Wi-Fi, right? You go into the settings.
Yes, exactly what I did. I followed that step.
And do you get an error message, or does it look like it joined it? No problem.
No, it just says no service.
It says no service.
And
Okay.
When I go to my password to get in there, my password never changed, and they still won't connect.
Does it say wrong password?
Yes, but it's not the wrong password.
But it's not, because you're using it on other devices, right?
That's correct.
So you know it's working, you know there is service, and you know the password is correct.
That's correct.
That's interesting.
And then I even went to where... Let me go back.
Whose access point? Are you using your own access point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's in your house, right? It's not your neighbor's, right?
No.
Okay.
But, I even went to where the DNS, the Delta November Sahara.
Yeah, that doesn't have anything to do with it.
Oh, that 8.8 stuff?
Yeah, okay, you're using Verizon. That's good. No, that doesn't matter.
Okay.
I would go in, and you know what may have happened? Here's probably what happened. When you entered a password the first time, you made a mistake.
Correct.
You're even telling me you did. It remembered that. So it doesn't matter anymore because it's not. So what you need to do is forget the network. Okay. So you can go into that same place, settings, Wi-Fi, and you'll see the network. And I think there's a little eye in a circle for information.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, tap that, and you'll see one of the options is forget this network. Forget it. That means...
I tried that one, too.
So because that means erase the password that you stored.
Okay.
And start over. And now carefully enter exactly the right password and see if it works. Because it doesn't... It will only ask you the first time for a password. So you need to forget it to start over and get the right password in there. Yeah, but as long as you're able to join... It's not the DNS. It's not anything else. As long as you're able to join that network on other devices...
Yeah. I mean, she works with the other ones, no problem.
888 is Google, not Verizon. Thank you. Verizon's 444, right? 44444. 44444. So you forgot it, which is the key.
Yeah.
One thing you can do, by the way, this happens a lot on an iPad and an iPhone. Turn it off and turn it on. Shut it all the way down. Press and hold the on-off switch till it says swipe to turn off.
I did that too.
Oh, you're way ahead of me.
I did all that. Yeah, it never happened before. I asked her, well, how come did it happen just now? She says, about a week ago she went out. I said, why don't you bring it up then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What good is an iPad without the internet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my iPhone works fine. I get on the internet with that. And then now my granddaughter's here, and she just picked up an Apple phone.
Yeah?
And she says she can't get on either.
Oh.
Well, that's two of them, so I don't know.
Yeah. I think that there's something with the password. Make sure you're doing the right password. I would say, hit that forget about it button and start over. And very carefully, uppercase is sensitive, everything. Make sure it's very carefully entered. Because if it's working for other devices, and we know you're getting internet on that router, that's working fine, check that password. Because if the password's wrong, that's exactly the symptoms. Nothing's going to happen. It's not DNS. That doesn't matter. All you have to do is pick the Wi-Fi and join it and give it the right password. I can't think of any other reason it might not work. Oh, well, it is possible. Did you set up the router yourself, or did a friend set it?
No, Cox did.
It is possible, although unlikely. One of those things people sometimes do in a misguided desire to secure their router is limit the MAC addresses that can connect to that router. The MAC address is a unique identifier for every piece of networking gear. It has a unique one and only MAC address. And you can turn on a setting in a router that says, only let these MAC addresses join this router. So this is a very long shot. Cox would not have turned that on. That's why I asked, did somebody else set it up? Because a network guy might have, in a misguided attempt to secure your network. It doesn't do anything. By the way, don't do it. Turn it off. I think you might have the wrong password. All right, 4.4.4.4 is level 3. 8.8.8.8 is Google. Don't remember who Verizon is. Arizona Wheels in our chat room says reboot the devices and router. Actually, what you should do is power everything. This is not good. This is not the problem. But power everything down. The cable box, the router, and then power it back up. Reset the iPad. I'm sure you've done all of that. if it works, if the devices work on other Wi-Fis, then they can use Wi-Fi, and I'm sure they do. It's the password. I'm almost positive. Try again, Sam. Just use that forget about it button. Robert. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Robert.
Hi there, Leo. How are you?
I'm great. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to talk to you again. It's all the way from New York City, so.
Yay!
Yeah, it was good to see you guys about 2 months ago.
Oh, did you come out? Did you come out and say hello?
Yeah, it was a good time. It was, thanks for hosting everyone out there.
Rattle and Hum. We had such a good time there.
It was really good. A good turnout, too.
Good. Well, it's nice to talk to you again.
Thank you. It's I hope my question's for a novice guy like me. I hope it's not too advanced, but I had a good experience with Windows 10, having it updated from my laptop from Windows 8, Windows 10.
Yeah.
So now I'm looking to do the same thing with my desktop.
Great.
I'm the Lenovo all-in-one, and it has a 1 terabyte physical spinning hard drive.
Okay.
And what I'm looking to do is, update that to Windows 10, and I just got my hands on a spare, 256 gig SSD.
Okay.
External, and I was wondering, if I were to try and use that as my, drive for the system and programs, the OS and the programs.
Yeah.
That way I could use that and not, spend a lot of money on trying to buy an SSD for 1 terabyte.
Yeah, that's a great way to go. I highly recommend it. SSDs make great boot drives. Hang on, we have to take a break. I'll finish the rest of your question when we come back. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. The Starfleet email in association with Star Trek. Purchase. Leo at Starfleet. I'm confused. What happened? They never got any money out of me. I wonder if it's still.
They didn't ask you for.
No, they just. Am I missing something? It says the Starfleet email in association with Star Trek. Purchase Leo at starfleet.com. To buy an email address as a gift, click here. If you've bought or been given a voucher, click here. If you already have an email address with Star Trek and need to change something, click here. To log into webmail to send or check your email, click here. Where's the buy button? Well, let me log in. Maybe I don't have to pay. Maybe they gave it to me. Yeah, PayPal.
That was how I did it with a credit card.
Now, if you didn't actually buy it, you broadcast it over the air.
I now own, without any intervention, login failed. Well, of course it failed. You didn't take my money. That's very odd. Oh, it didn't remember the short password. Shoot. Oh, LastPass. It would only take a 12-character password. And it looks like I accidentally remembered the long password. Not the... No, that's the 12-character. Let's try again. Login failed. I don't understand. You know what it probably tried to do is it was going to kick me to...
Maybe you'll have to call a help show and get some assistance on this.
Well, I think what happened is the PayPal page didn't show up. Wow, the Seahawks scored already. Oh, well. I don't know. Let me try again. But see, now I won't be able to get Leo. Because I have it. Oh. Yeah, Elias already being used. I know, I bought it.
Except you didn't pay for it.
But I never paid for it. Son of a gun. Maybe somebody at the Starfleet was listening. They said, "Oh, Mr. Laporte, you can't have that. It's, by the way, run by CBS."
Who owns?
Well, I thought Paramount owns Star Trek. But maybe CBS is Paramount. I think that's what it is. Yeah.
They changed.
Well, I could do forgot password. Let's see what happens. If you've forgotten your password, first enter your Starfleet email address. Then answer the security question, which was terrible. Oh. I hate it. They, they have very Fakatka security.
I know that word.
Fakatka.
Well, I learned it as fakakta, but yeah.
Fatak, whatever it is. Yeah, I don't know. I'm only faking it. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. Let's talk high tech with. Actually, we were talking to Robert in New York City. So you want to buy an SSD, upgrade to Windows 10, but you want to upgrade to Windows 10 on that new SSD for fast boot up purposes.
That's right. I actually had the SSD. It's just a spare one. And so I'll likely have to get some encasing and connect it, I guess, by USB 3 cable.
Yeah, well, the weird thing about the Windows, the free, and I presume that's what you want to do, the free Windows upgrade, is it has upgrades on top of Windows 8. So since Windows 8 isn't currently on that SSD...
Ah, right, okay.
I'm trying to think how this would... I don't know how it'll work. I mean, you can try downloading... What I would do is try downloading the ISO of Windows 10. You can get that from get it from Microsoft, nowhere else,
Sure.
and install it on the new SSD. The SSD will have to be the boot drive for that to work.
Sure. Yep.
And then, what I'm hoping is it'll look around and say, "Oh, I see Windows 8. Is this the one you're upgrading?" You'll say yes, and then you'll be okay. If it doesn't do that. You then maybe you'll have to install the ISO on top of Windows 8. What will then happen is you'll be running a Windows 10 machine without the SSD involved. I think at that point what Microsoft does, and this is all kind of a mystery, Microsoft doesn't tell us, but we believe, my Windows experts and I, that what then happens is Microsoft associates your Windows 10 with your machine.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't own Windows 10 when you do the free upgrade. Your machine does. You're upgrading that machine and that machine alone. And so there is, in almost all modern computers, a serial number in ROM or some other way to identify that machine. Microsoft will now say, oh, good, this is a Windows 10 machine. At that point, I think you can swap in the SSD, use the ISO that you downloaded for Windows 10, and install it on that SSD clean. And Microsoft will activate it because it'll say, oh, yeah, I recognize this computer.
Oh, because it's already been...
Because it's been activated once, right?
Activated, right.
That's
sure,
right.
Okay.
So I'm guessing. Now, this information comes from my friend Paul Thurrott. He is a real true Windows guru, not I.
Sure.
But he hosts our Windows Weekly show. And you can find out more at Thurrott.com. He has an article on, for instance, clean install, which is essentially what you're doing. How to clean install the upgrade. That's what you want to do.
Right, okay, and since I already have backups of all my my data files...
You're not going to lose anything.
Yeah, so I should be fine then, okay.
Yeah. So I think that'll all work.
Okay.
It's going to be what it is going to be some form or fashion of what I just described.
Right.
But I think that particular step-by-step should work. Install it as an upgrade on the existing hard drive, then take out the existing hard drive, put in the SSD, install it in the SSD, and I think it will just activate and say, good.
Now, would there be any difference if it were just connected by a USB 3 cable or something?
As long as you can boot to that USB, nope. That'll be fine. Yep.
All right, great. Thank you very much.
And then keep that old drive for your data.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Because the nice thing about solid state really is much faster, right? It boots up really quickly. Applications load really quickly. But you don't need that speed for data, for reading and writing data. So, and because SSD drives cost more per gigabyte, they're more expensive per gigabyte, it's probably desirable to put Windows on it in your applications and then have a much larger standard drive, less expensive per gigabyte standard drive for your data. And that's a kind of a nice way to do it anyway. That way the data drive is separate from the Windows install. You can go through this process without worrying about your data because it doesn't even touch your data. Your data's on a separate drive. Bruce in Southern California, Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo, it's Bruce. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Great. See, I got a couple questions for you before I forget to mention this. I wanted to let you know I bought a couple of your new Twit T-shirts.
Thank you. Did you get them yet?
Very nice. I just got them yesterday. I'm wearing one right now.
Oh, I love that design, and tip of the hat to Anthony Nielsen.
It looks like it came out of the Matrix.
Yeah, so it's like this is our podcast network. It's a logo, but it's dripping rainbow. It's beautiful.
Oh, it is.
Oh, I'm so glad you got it. I'm so glad you got it.
Yeah, well, thanks for letting me know about it. It was a really, really great thing to get.
Thank you.
A couple of quick questions for you, if you have time.
I got plenty. I got 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever you need.
My daughter wants a tablet for school. She's going to college.
Great.
And so she has a laptop, but she thinks it's a little bit bulky to haul back and forth in her backpack. So
I bet in the long run, if she's writing papers, if she's really working hard, she's going to end up using the laptop. But a tablet's always nice
at home, probably.
Yeah.
So we're taking notes. I'm wondering I noticed that some of these you can get Office on them.
All of them you can't. Well, all iOS tablets and all Android tablets. Yeah, Microsoft. It's interesting. They put out Office, Touch Office, on the iPad before they put it out on Windows.
Wow. So what about that Fire, the Fire tablet you were talking about from Amazon?
For what she wants, I would get her an iPad.
Get an iPad.
Yeah, or a Galaxy. The Fire tablets from Amazon, they're very inexpensive, but they're about consumption. They're not about getting work done.
The Galaxy S2 looked like a pretty good
great tablet. And I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I think Microsoft Office is now out on Android as well. So yeah, you could run it on Android as well as on iOS. I'm an Android fan. I prefer Android, and I think I can't think. What's she going to be studying?
Marketing.
Yeah, I can't think of any reason why she would have to have one or the other. I don't think that'll make any difference at all. So, that Galaxy is a fabulous tablet.
Great, thank you. And my second question is, I have a MacBook Pro, and I recently changed my my logon account. Now I'm getting prompted for this thing. It says Apple ID auth agent wants to use the login keychain. I've tried to delete my keychain.
I'll explain what that is. So keychain is one of the things Apple really did right. It is a secure store of nominally passwords, but it can also store certificates. It can also store notes. You can use it like a secure storage for anything. It is unlocked normally when you log in. So when you first create an account on a Macintosh, you create an empty keychain, and that keychain shares the password of the account. That way you don't have to enter the password twice. When you log into the account, the keychain is open, is unlocked. If at any point you change your account password, you could get it out of sync with, and this is what's happened to you, you can out of sync with a keychain. So your keychain password is now the old password.
Right.
Do you know what your old password is?
That out.
Yeah, you could start with a new keychain. Just create a keychain. Yeah, well, you don't have to delete. Just create a new keychain. The system keychain. Yeah, you might have to. I would just create a new one. It'll ask you for the password. Use the same password you log in with. Generally, I mean that's for convenience sake.
Okay.
And that should open when you log in. Now, it may be that you need to bless it somehow to say this is the system keychain for that to work. I'd have to do some research on that one. You could probably do it.
I can hit cancel and get out of it.
Everything continues on, but that keychain has not been unlocked, so you don't have access to it.
I see.
It'll only be unlocked if you can remember what the old password was.
That seems to be my problem.
Yeah, no, I've had that happen. So delete it, create a new one. There's, you'll be no worse off. All the old passwords will be gone, but from now on, they'll be remembered. Hey, I hope you remember me, Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, it's just the tip of the iceberg. We do nearly 30 shows on the Netcast network. It's called TWIT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. You even get your daily dose of tech news with Tech News Today and Tech News Tonight. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.